Hello everybody, and welcome back to the LJL officially unofficial cast. I am Alex, otherwise known as Lex by my Mars one on the internet, and I am joined today by the noble Nymera, otherwise known as Alex Hapgood, and the insightful Initialize, otherwise known as Sam Hapgood. Gentlemen, as I say always, please introduce yourselves to week 2. Rather, round 2 of the LJL officially unofficial playoffs.
Well, we know that weeks work very strangely here over in the LJL. You know,
True.
we have like 1 week actually being only 24 hours. We have very strange
time compression is a thing.
But as the nobility, it is my decree, and I decree that this is week 2 of the playoffs. We have a huge best of 5 today. We had 2 pretty crazy ones the last time we were on broadcast. We saw CGA versus Rascal Jester. We saw B3 versus Axes. Obviously, this was the lower part of the bracket. We have some other stuff to do today.
Yeah, and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the lofty heights of the LJL's Mount Olympus. We are, of course, with our top 2 teams today. It's DetonatioN FocusMe, it's Sengoku Gaming, both of whom came out of the split looking pretty damn strong. And as a play-by-play with the boon insight, as the wonderful encouragement from Masson came across, I'm really looking forward to seeing our sort of top 2 teams in the regular season standings battle it out in what I think should be a pretty competitive series.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a really interesting series. Obviously, these teams have met twice before in the spring split and ended up actually going 1-1. Sengoku taking that first win against DFM and preventing them from making it a 10-0 win streak. These 2 teams have got a lot of history, and one of these teams has been dominant from the beginning, whereas the other one has been growing to dominance throughout the region. I want to get both of your thoughts. 1, on your predictions for this map, and 2, why the predictions and what's going to make that team tip over. I'm going to hand it over to Initialize first, as they've got the more bolder statement to probably make.
Yeah, we've been having this conversation in and around and off cast about who we think is winning and what the score will be. I am going to give...
Check out podcast episode 8 of the podcast.
Yeah, I'm sticking with my podcast prediction. I think it'll be a 3-0 for DFM.
I actually don't know whether my claim will be more bold. I think it's going to be 3-2 to DFM. I think that with the time taken off between the regular season and now coming into their first playoff match, I think that DFM, every other team is playing catch-up to them. I think that Sengoku has shown a lot of growth towards the back end of the split, didn't finish off in the strongest way possible, had that really nasty loss to Rascal Jester, which unfortunately lost themselves in the round 1 of the playoffs. But I think that if they come into this with significant prep, I think they can catch DFM napping and take a couple of games.
So Initialize, Can I get your perspective on why you think DFM's going to go 3-0?
So I think, for one thing, I don't think DFM will have showed everything. I think they've been hiding some stuff, and they've been putting a little bit of time on stage into things like the Senate for their supporting gang. I think they've still got a few things up their sleeves. I can nearly guarantee it. And 2... the fact is, yes, Sengoku Gaming prep well. I think DFM just do it levels better. I think On Air has been a revelation for the team, this split as a coach. And I think DFM's backroom staff are some of the best, if not the best in the league. You know, they've got this Korean coach who's come in, who has been one of the most storied, most successful, most prolific coaches in the history of league in general.
He's almost using as many adjectives as you do here.
Yeah, this guy has
impressive.
Yeah, but this guy has been in the scene coaching since Meg, Frost, and Blaze. This guy has been really, really good, and the fact he's over working for DFM, I think, only gives them a bigger edge in preparation in terms of what they can do with their time.
True.
And I think it's that you saw it in the split, right? The way their macro in particular improved over the course of it was pretty impressive to watch, and I expect no less from them in playoffs.
Now, before we get into this game, I really want to get both of your insights, as it somewhat would be. So apologies there. Initialize for asking for Nymeras as well. But I must know sometimes, which of these teams has more to show and also to potentially hide going into either the finals or the semi-finals, as it would be.
So obviously the very difficult thing about this series is that one of these teams has to lose. They go down into then the next bracket.
That's what
and
happens
then
in a series.
exactly. No, but then sometimes you got to call a spade, and sometimes someone's got to lose, and they're gonna go down. They're gonna have to play another best of 5. So the loser today will have to show an extra best of 5 worth of games. Who's going to show more? Who's going to hide more? I think that Sengoku have been somewhat one-dimensional in the way that they've pulled out their big victories, particularly around stuff like a very backline AD carry on Yutorimashi, which can scale up into the game, and then have more of your mobility and playmaking on someone like Pyrion and Blank, really.
True.
I think that DFM have shown that they can play varied styles already. I don't know if anything, even if they pull out a new pick, is going to really change a lot of people's opinions of that. It might change a little bit of the flavor in the draft, but they can still achieve everything they want to.
Yeah, and I agree with what Naimara is saying. I do think Sengoku Gaming have been a touch one-dimensional, though they've played that dimension very well. And I think they're quite reliant on Blank to get things rolling in an early game. I think they're quite reliant on Pyrion having playmaking and usually a teleport to control some side waves, and Appermen to find some way somehow to have pressure more than anything else in a side lane. That's not to say within the dimension that they're playing that they don't have weird and off-brand picks. Things like the Yorick are definitely a consideration. Things like the Kiana in the jungle and her Carpets of Doom, definitely options for Sengoku Gaming. So even if they are playing that one dimension, it is one that they are quite nuanced in, and that could give them some advantages if they want to look for different things to show. It may well be in terms of just champions that people weren't expecting.
Okay, last question. Quick one as well. I want kind of gut reactions for this question. On both teams, who's going to be the person that really is that difference maker, that defined player who's going to basically be like, oh yeah, of course they kind of helped win this whole game? Real quick question from both of you.
I think it's Gang for DFM, and I think it is Pyrion for Sengoku.
Okay.
I won't go too deep into
No.
it.
No. I want to just get instant gut reactions, all right?
I think it will be Blank for Sengoku Gaming, and I think probably Ebby for DFM, but I will put a caveat of I could also see Steel being exceptionally relevant to all.
Right. Initially, I was trying to cover as many bases as possible there. Different
Two things at once.
responses from our analysts over here. I'm of the opinion that this will be a 3-0 sweep for DFM, as I did say on episode 8 on the podcast. I'm going to stick to my gut reaction. I'll see some games and maybe I'll flip-flop like I did last time and weirdly get it right and feel really weird. I think this is going to be a really interesting battle in the top lane. I always love watching Apperman play.
Sure.
I mean, it's going to be interesting though. We've seen a few of the pro streams from like Yutorimashi and Apperman, so I've been able to privy myself into that. So I'm interested in the pick and ban phase a lot. That's all I'm going to say. Gonna be very interesting. As always, we are a blast from the past.
Yes, you said the thing.
I did the thing. So I will count us in so we can get into pick and ban phase in 3, 2, 1.
Let it rip. We're Beyblade now.
We are, and not just Beyblade, we're also League of Legends. Thank you so much, Maswan. That was good talks, and always a pleasure having you on the analyst desk.
Here I was doing all my prep for Beyblade, and now it's League of Legends.
I know.
Imagine how heartbroken I am.
Congratulations. Dragoon will have to come out later. Anyway, we've got to talk about teams and rosters.
I may be heartbroken, but I'm not face broken. Set's been banned.
Set has been banned, and we've got DFM on the blue side today. They've got Ebby in the top lane. They've got Steel in the jungle, Seros in the mid lane, Utapon and Gang in that bot lane. And check out their coach on stage. It's Kazu today.
And on the other side, we have Sengoku Gaming, the challengers to the throne. In the top lane, it's Apperman. In the jungle, it's Blank. Mid lane, Pyrion. Bot lane, Yutorimashi, and support NT.
And of course, their coach Karen is also there with them on stage as they go through. Let's try that phrasing, Sam. Some pretty impressive bands. There's a set, there's an Elise. No Heimerdinger or anything of the sort yet. Seros champion pool seems not been hit.
Okay, alright. So, Heimerdinger has been banned every game versus DFM, apart from the very first game of the split, where they absolutely took apart V3, and that was a very quick game, so people just haven't really wanted to play against that ever since. So their last ban is actually going to be
the
that
Heimerdinger.
We were wondering about it. I don't know if any team is really practiced enough to play around the nuances of that kind of pick. Aphelios has is slipped through the ban phase, though. It is one of these priority picks.
Oh, and there's the thumbs up. Evie knows. He knows, and so did DFM, that Utapon is on the weapon of the faithful. This guy has looked like an absolute monster on this champion. Also means it's taken away from Yutori Miyashi, who's done some pretty non-PG-13 things as well on Aphelios.
You know what I'm going to do? When someone's asking for my order in a restaurant now, I'm not going to say like, oh yes, that's fine. I'm just going to sit there, make eye contact very aggressively, and just do thumbs up.
Yeah,
every thumbs
but
up.
It's with a slight frown as well that he does it. It's like, this is playoffs everywhere, where the aggression is truly shows on his face. We've seen a Renekton lock-in for Appaman. Thinking about a Sylas lock-in as well. This would be a flex.
Yeah, Sylas has been popping up across the world, really, in mid lane and in jungle. It's the Varus locked in. So I was talking about this a little bit on Twitter to a couple of people from the VCS English. They've talked about them a little bit about... They are live at the moment, actually, with their own end of their regular season stuff as well, if you do want to hop on over there and say hi to one of the other emerging regions. But I think Varus really will be the meta-defining AD carry. It has so many different ways to build, and as a flex between the middle and the bot lane. On the other side, we do have a bit more of the same meta in the Ornn. A little bit different, though, in the Pantheon.
Yeah, and we've seen this one banned out occasionally versus DFM. We've known they've run to it in the past, and we wonder if they were going to show something a little different. Pantheon certainly counts. It could go towards Steel, it could go towards Seras, it could go towards Ebby. Hell, it could go towards Gang. I wouldn't entirely be surprised.
So the thing is that DFM played a game with the Galio. I think it was in the last week of no, that was their loss versus V3. That would have been one of their last games of the regular season. I think it was their first game in week 2, in fact. And they played the Galio, which has this semi-global ultimate with the hero's entrance. Pantheon gets to do the same thing with the Grand Starfall. So they have practiced these semi-global comps, we can tell. It doesn't matter if this goes to Steel, Ebby, or Seras in its own way, because they do have that kind of team synergy to know what they're doing around those ultimates. Zoe's going to be locked in for Pyrian, though. LeBlanc was the very first ban. Zoe is kind of the last of those two blind pick mid laners that the LJL has really loved.
And that means that the potential flex of the Renekton and the Varus that could have been seen isn't going to be that. That Varus will be going towards the bot lane, you imagine, and the Renekton will be up the top. Pyrian will be taking, of course, the Zoe. Nautilus was taken off the board here.
Okay, all right. So that means that we know that the Varus is going to be in the bot lane. No flex around there, because Zoe is very much a mid laner, unless you're in my solo queue and people like to troll.
Yeah, I mean, it could, I suppose, be if Yutori Miyashi is feeling like channeling his inner perks or caps. There is room for a Zoe bot, I suppose.
No, I was just having like war flashbacks of like Zoe Caitlyn bot lanes.
Yeah. Gang's champion ball getting hit here a little bit. The Tarek take as well. He has looked very good on that champion. It's another stun to add on top of someone like a Pantheon or an Ornn, which would be kind of obnoxious.
So this is actually 4 support bans in Phase 2. We actually rarely see both teams ban out the same role. What this screams to me is that both of these teams have something in the pocket for their support pick. Sengoku are actually thinking about looking their jungler to have support counter pick. This is something which LS absolutely loves to talk about. So Blankers are going to end up locking in the job on 4. Team fight goes well with the engage, initiation, helps you kind of have this secondary kind of threat apart from just the chains of corruption. It means you have to be looking out for more than just one tool, and then realize that there's no team fight left. Sengoku's setting up with a very long range composition already with the Varus and the Zoe. Double poke. I think this is probably going to be a poke Varus, but we'll see about that.
It would make a lot of sense for sure.
It would do.
We could see about Anar, because I could see, of course, Ebby's not really pulled it out that much in the regular split.
Done it once.
I think, and this is a champion that he knows so damn well and works not too badly into a Renekton. It's engaged, it's split push. Probably means that's a Pantheon jungle.
And I'd love to see the Rakan.
And the Rakan would be such a power pick for Gang. This man does disgusting things on that champion.
Because one thing which really breaks open a poke comp is just hard engage. They already have the Pantheon, they already have the Ornn as well. Gnar is good as that secondary engage after kind of the rage bar is in the correct place. Rakan is just another tool to chuck into that all-in basket. Just a couple of seconds left. It is going to be locked in. And as I said, I think Gang is one of the big difference makers for DFM. I think that Gang, throughout the regular split, has been the best LJL support.
Oh, for sure.
All of us would very much agree with that with our power rankings. And also it showed up in our Player of the Week standings too. So Sengoku have their counter pick support. This will be going alongside the Varus. If this is a Yuumi, we get the Yuumi Varus double poke. It's going to be
Morgana is something that NT has defaulted to in the past. He's looked pretty good on this champion, and it's just another bit of long-range engage and poke and pick.
I really like this. Black Shield for the first target if they're trying to get single target picks from the Rakan or the Graviton and stuff like that. Or the Pantheon as well. There's a lot of things where if DFM start falling behind in the game, they're going to look for singular picks. The Black Shield is very good at stopping that. And also Morgana, if you hit the Dark Binding onto the Rakan, can end up just stunting that engage and just blowing open the game because there's going to be a lot of poke following up on that when they're just locked in place for like 2-3 seconds.
Yeah, I will say though that there's only so much a Morgana can Black Shield in between a Pantheon, a Rakan, a Na, and an Ornn alongside something like a Graviton should Utapon choose to go towards that ultimate. Sengoku Gaming better be ready to keep their possessioning in check.
I agree, very much agree. But then also we have the shooting gallery of the Cataclysm alongside the poke as well. The Renekton is the one kind of piece of this which doesn't fit into the whole kind of like, oh, long-range poke and lock them down. You do have this point-and-click stun for the Renekton if you want to dash forward and kind of set up for that. But Aphromen, on the whole, is just going to look to survive in the mid-late game in side lanes. Maybe start trying to dive alongside the Jarvan into the mid-game team fights. But we'll see how the game really plays out. See how much gold Aphromen has to play with. Against Ebby's Nah, the great nullifying lane pick. This can also win the split push. There could be... I don't think the focus should be around top lane, but it could end up being a very tilted matchup if one jungler makes an early impact.
Yeah, and there is a lot of CC available for Steel to go find some lanes between a Gnar if he's in Mega Gnar. We've got the Ornn, we've got Aphelios if he's got Graviton up, there's Rakan down there. There is a lot of room for Pantheon to just go, excellent, I can jump on anybody and the follow-up will be there. It's not like Blank doesn't have that many options either. Renekton, Zoe, Varus, Morgana all got their own options for some long-range CC to help out that job.
Let me put it this way. If Sengoku get themselves vision control, I really fear for DFM. They can hard engage with a lot of their long-range stuff, but if they are seen to be in a certain area of the map, Sengoku get to choose their battleground. They get to get the first hit down. They can kind of swing the first punch with their long-range skill shots and stuff like that. And if DFM aren't ready to engage on a dime just on a millisecond, then this could be quite a stalled game from Sengoku. I think that if they end up poking out around objectives, we can see what they've done for so much of the spring split and just stack up all their objectives to win.
What on earth could you be talking about? A slow mid and late game from Sengoku Gaming, and it's a slow early game because we've got to pause straight in.
And as is tradition, we do normally bring back our producer, our friend, our family, Mass Swan on the other end of our Discord call. How are you feeling about these drafts?
What was the reference there? I want to just be reminded what the reference there. Our friend, our family, our friend. What's the reference there? I can't remember.
I think it's just him.
No, honestly.
No, there's a reference.
But
is there a reference there as well? Ooh.
Oh, I'm 100% sure I've heard that before, in that exact kind of like sing-and-song kind of thing.
Probably, but you know what? I'm not quite at the level where you know.
Brain is not on max like.
We're ramping up to it. I'm getting into it.
It's big brain, but it's smooth brain. That's the problem.
That's the problem. It's a very big brain, but it is all indeed smooth. But what is very wrinkly and of appropriate size are these drafts by these two teams. You know, I love my segues. So I think that we have seen a couple of hands tipped here. Actually, I think that both of the Pantheon is something new out of DFM.
Mm-hmm.
So last time that I think Pantheon was played for DFM, it was last split. But what's even more interesting is last time that Ornn was played for DFM, it was Syros that played it in the mid lane against the Hawks. And this is a game where they went, where Syros went 1, 1, and 8. I wonder if we're going to have a repeat performance. Problem is, team comp is totally different this time, like radically different. So.
I think what Nymera was saying earlier about the fact that DFM need to be ready to engage on a dime, while they've got all the tools to be ready to be engaged on a dime. You know, they've got multiple teleports, they've got multiple engage options, they've got a semi-global, they have got ways to turn around any engage or just pull the trigger, and they've all got about 30,000 armaments in which to pull those said triggers. So I have some faith in DFM to be able to pull that trigger, but Sengoku Gaming, if they've got vision control, have got all the poke from screens away in the world.
My worry is that if Aphelios gets poked out around a dragon, what damage do DFM have to commit with? If Utapon can't commit to a fight, what happens then?
That's true. I mean, I want to ask the question. Gut reaction, who's winning this game?
Sengoku, I think.
Okay.
I'll call DFM, if only because I still think Ebby on the Gnar can do some pretty nasty things in a side lane, and I trust DFM with a semi-global.
Now we're back into game, so good luck again to both these teams, and hopefully no more pauses, please.
Well, can't always control that aspect of the broadcast on the other side of the world, unfortunately. We're back into game. So yeah, I'm throwing it out there. I think that Sengoku do have a draft which favors the playstyle that they go towards.
I agree with that.
They love fighting around early dragons, heralds, and basically one strong Varus arrow. It's actually the on-hit Varus, it's not actually the poke, but it's going to be alongside. Either way, arrows still hurt, and you have...
Gang's got to be very careful. He's walking forward. He's going to get caught out. Has got the grand entrance to disengage as best he can. He may well need to flash still. No, is able to walk it out. Does burn that pot. Steel is here, but they're going to stop his red buff start, but they're going to back away and head towards his blue buff. And that does delay the Pantheon level 1.
And can I just say that in the 2 games, or the games which are
DFM,
reset, and it doesn't actually matter that much, it's still going to be vertical jungling setup here with a strong side for the Varus, which is normally very good for a Varus team. But just something to say is that a lot of the time when we've seen DFM have these weaker games, it's when Steel has his level 1 interrupted. He has a slower start in the jungle. We saw that in their loss to V3. I believe we also saw that in their loss to Sengoku as well. I didn't actually end up casting that one, so the DSLs are a little bit fuzzy. I only watched it on the replay.
Yes, he did. He had his level 1 kind of
There's the Twitter poll here, as you're saying.
Yeah, that's an 80% favor for DFM, and you can understand that they are one of the darlings of the LJL. They've been very good for a very long time. And have been looking very good in this split too, so I can see the faith in them right now.
Yep, and speaking of faith, we have Aphelios, Weapon of the Faithful, as you so much love to say on cast down here in the bot lane. Normally a very lane dominant pick, but NT and Utomi actually managed to get just the angling on the wave here. They know that Blank is starting on the bot side of the map, will probably stay there because of vertical jungling and all this other stuff. We see Steel doing a full blue side clear.
That felt like it was going to miss, but hitboxes are a thing.
Yep.
And they do get the early shove to NT and Utomi, but that's not necessarily a surprise when you have a Rakan lane without Xayah. Utapon and Gang will get shoved in early.
Well, actually, Rakan's not awful. It's just that Aphelios doesn't have the wave clear at the first level, whereas if Varus starts with E, it means you get to hit the enemy and hit the minion wave as well if they stand too close to the range creep. Seeing there actually a two-person E just does good damage for a level 1 ability.
Yeah, and that means that for now, Utomi and out to a decent early lead as the Scuttle Crab spawn, and Blank is still around that bot side. Could look towards a dive, but it might be a bit risky.
I have to say, this is kind of this little bit of a strange idiosyncrasy of this particular early game is that normally when you see junglers committing to one side of the map, normally you see that the weak side ends up not pushing at all, whereas Afferman has managed to get the early push in the top lane, which has allowed Blank to get this double scuttle start, so we assume. Pyrian's also got some good priority in the mid lane too.
Yes, he does. It's another one of those range things. Pyrian using that poke of the paddle star to make sure he's got control of the wave, shoves it in, gets Blank to 2 Scuttle Crabs for a start.
And also picking up a Protobelt from the wave as, just Zoe thinks.
Yes,
Protobelt is a very good wave clear tool.
Yes, it is.
Actually, it stacks up very well onto the minions.
Yeah, and it means that actually Sengoku are doing fairly well in this early game. That's going to be a 3 buff start for Blank on this Jarvan. Going to get him out to an early lead and stifle a little bit of what DFM want to do, but still finds a decent invade to get something back here at least.
So there's a lot of posturing around the map. We see a lot of priority from Sengoku right now. They're pushing the top lane, pushing the mid lane, pushing in the bot lane for most of that early phase as well. But Steel does manage to get in and steal a wolf camp, like you were saying. Does mean that the amount of camps he has available to him are still okay on his side of the map. Krugs are still there. His wolves have respawned as well now after his first clip.
Was on a ward.
He was on a ward, though. He was seen going back into his own jungle. So at least Sengoku know how to... they know his current location.
Yes, they do. And that's all well and good as actually Utomi and NT now found under this tower after what was a fairly good early shove from them, but they've let it come straight back out. They kind of knew that Pantheon was around, wanted to avoid getting ganked there.
Calibrum is just such a strong poke tool, so if you do have control over the wave, it is so effective towards that because of the extra range and also the Q being able to give you that effective extra reset as well. But he was seen on a ward.
Yeah, he was, and I think that's just going to mean it's a straight back for him right now. Yeah, there's the retreat pings coming out as Gang and Utapon force Utomi away from the wave, which isn't a bad deal. But even so, we're going to see that Utomi is still up around 510 CS here just from that early shove and wave control that they had.
is for now. So as we're kind of settling in here, there are incremental advantages being built up for Sengoku as this game goes on. It is now at about just under 1,000 gold lead, just from the early jungle lead, particularly, and then a couple of the laning things as well. Blank found his way down here after Steel had just recalled, went back up towards his top
Starting
side.
on my Ocean Drake.
Yeah, so getting this, as Sengoku love to do, they love to play around these early dragons, get themselves stacking, it gives them that pseudo win condition, because the LJL just loves playing around dragons. The whole world
They
does.
really do.
The whole world does, for sure, but then just having the ability to have that mid to late game win condition with an early Ocean Soul can sometimes just make a losing game a winning one.
Yeah, and of course it won't be Ocean Soul this time around because the first Drake is Ocean, so we don't know. It could be a Mountain Soul.
Oh, why do you get Redemption, Zoe?
Oh, so obnoxious. That's two exceptionally powerful item pickups for her in this early game. Between the Proto Belt and the Redemption, really helped out with that wave control thus far.
Sure, and I think that particularly in this early game, the heartening thing for Sengoku is that two of the players which we have praised very much over the second half of the split for Sengoku have been Blank and Pyrion, and they're off to a good start. They've got priority in mid lane with a champion which Pyrion does like to play as one of the LGL's blind picks in the mid lane, and then Blank getting this huge advantage in terms of gold at least, and also some XP on the Jarvan early on.
Yeah. For now, though, things have been stabilizing. I don't know who that necessarily favors with a stable lane, as Seros uses the Bellows Breath to kind of time out that bubble timing pretty well.
Yeah, he's done that a couple of times now, showing off that W unstoppable, by the way. But then, obviously, we have to talk about this from both kind of sides, as Pyrion actually... Dubstep Ignite!
Yeah, the Dubstep Ignite was there. Pops forward for the deep bass drop of that, and continues on.
It's like, oh, Saros, by the way, bow, wow, 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 wow. Stops the recall. Sorry,
nice sound effects, I appreciate that.
That's what I'm here for. But yeah, obviously, from the side of DFM, it hasn't led to anything particularly yet. We see a slight gold lead. We see one early dragon, but not one which you were really going to be contesting anyway. You wanted the level 6 onto the Ornn, amongst other things. You want to start kind of playing around the Pantheon as well. I think, to be honest, DFM want to be playing around side lanes as opposed to playing around the big objectives unless they get a really good angle. Or rather, they get side lane priority and then use that priority, then win an objective fight. It's not the point in the game where their composition really needs to start making moves just yet. So no warning signs just yet.
Yeah, and of course they've got pretty good side lanes to play around between Anar and an Aphelios with the Rakan, so they've got options here. They've got to wait for it. It's actually, there's been a rotation up to this top side as
Herald can be started.
Yeah, the Sengoku Gaming are here to start up this Rift Herald if they so wish.
They are. So Blank gets himself a blue buff Steel, just taking away extra XP away from Steel, delaying that level 6 even more. He's currently
Secondary
on the wolf
objective.
So what this does, so the thing is, when you rotate for this Herald, you do end up losing bot waves, and we're going to see probably about 2 waves worth of minions crash into the bot tower, as Utapon will probably pick up a plate as well. So the amount of gold being put through in terms of the gold differential is not going to be that much in the side of Sengoku. Actually, saying that, there's going to be about 4 minions picked up here by Appaman on the bot side, so not the worst thing ever.
Yeah, assuming he can step forward to get to that wave, that's exactly right, as Blank's here, looking to maybe find an engage onto Ebby. No, just actually doesn't see him. He's onto the Grump. But Steel's here in the bot side. Appaman's got to be careful. There is no teleport available for anybody else. Appaman throws down that Dominus, and that's going to be it. Are they just going to time it out? That's pretty cool. Here comes a second teleport. They're coming for this engage.
Q.
It was a big Q, but that's a big stun. That's a decent flash. Appaman gets the flash out, and he's going to survive. But no, they're going to try and chase him down. The Dominus isn't going to survive all that long. Here comes the Rift Herald summon. Appaman taking lots of damage. Ebby's got the Mega Nut. He's thinking about going for it, and Appaman has to be forced away as the rest of DFM continue to shove on that tower.
Superbly played from Appaman. He gets like a 3-man Q underneath the tower to keep himself topped up in HP, uses that HP to survive through to the point that he can just slice and dive through the wave and back out the other side of the turret, ends up getting away with a very, very, I'm not going to say lucky, because it wasn't lucky, it was well played, but a good escape.
Yeah, it was. Cull the Meek does its job, culling off some of that HP, giving him some stuff back, but actually big gold lead right now for Yuta Umehashi, who with that first turret was pretty huge amount of gold for him.
With the ability, because Appaman survived and not giving over first blood, also not giving over as many plates as well because the tower didn't go down, and just delaying so long for the
shared
first
plates as well.
The shared plates as well. It does mean that DFM, where they were looking to get themselves to an extra kind of recompense for the play made on the top side, ended up just being completely for nothing because Appaman survived for so long.
Yep, but that does mean he has no flash, no teleport, and no ultimate for now, so could be punished for that as yet. We'll see. Does mean they survive. Does mean the bot tower does also survive.
It does, but also, you know, talking about ultimate trades, there's no Dominus, which is going to be just coming off a cooldown in the next 30 seconds anyway. But then it was also traded for the Moonlight Vigil as well, so no plays being made by Utapon on the same kind of ticket.
Here comes the teleport. The Grand Starfall is here. They're onto the bot side. That's a decent binding, and now Steel is going to use that Aegis Assault to get in. There's a decent engage back onto NTP. He takes a lot of damage, as does Steel. Nice disengage, but it's a flash out of Utorimayashi, and it's an ignite from NT as well.
It is. Ultimate's used again, so that means a lot of the engage tools will be down for the next couple of minutes. But if they manage to get another kind of wraparound gank, a return gank rather, they might be able to punish the bot lane, particularly no flash available onto the Varus now.
Yeah, no Chains of Corruption either, but that cooldown's not the biggest, so may well be able to get onto it as Ebby continues to be obnoxious range champion that he is. Starting to throw some boomerangs out and get on top of that Renekton as the Mounted Drake spawn, and Blank is here to start it up.
And it's just timed out on the Scuttle Crab as well, so DFM, I don't actually know if they pinged that out. I wasn't
Teleport coming.
Up to the point. They're going to TP in with Pyrion, who did pick it up with the Spellbook, as so he has taken that rune there, not taken something like the Airy or the Electrocute. In the kind of tank matchups where, you know, you're not going to be able to one-shot your mid lane opponent, you can take some more of these utility-based keystones, and what that has meant is that he's had a bit more control about what he can take in the laning phase, and then also be able to TP back to lane. Has ended up with about a 15 CS advantage in that mid lane so far. Playing well in the early game is Pyrion.
Yeah, and we're looking actually at about a 1,500 gold lead now for Sengoku Gaming, and a very significant early objective lead. 2 Drakes and a Rift Tower. It's a really good start to them early on.
This is the Sengoku style of play. This is what they do.
It is indeed. They're doing pretty well at it, of course. DFM finding some cooldowns in the side lanes, but no actual kills, and that meant that Sengoku Gaming have actually stayed relatively okay with these trades so far, as Blank is around and thinking about maybe coming over the wall.
Oh, for sure. I mean, there's been a lot of games which I haven't cast about DFM, unfortunately. I think I missed about 3 or 4 of their games, which you've actually cast as well, so you can fill me in on a couple of them, I guess. But speaking of that, how afraid are you for DFM now Sengoku have got themselves 2 dragons and a slight gold lead? Or is it something which DFM just don't care about?
I don't think they care too much, mainly because they aren't looking for the 5v5 right now, not with the way they're playing, and they have often given away early objectives to get to a point where they feel their items are in place to make plays, and I think they're going to be okay with that. They have gone behind occasionally in early games and just found good mid-game opportunities, and once Ebby's picked his items, he started spec pushing off to a side. Seros gets to a side lane. Utapon will find his way to a mid game more than happily. So I don't think they're going to be too afraid just yet.
So what that screams to me is comfort. And speaking about comfort, that's a bit of an uncomfortable stun there for Ebby. But going actually back to my actual point I was going to segue into, is that Utorimayashi's most played champion in his career is Varus. We were talking about this on the podcast. Go check out episode 8. That's the second plug of the day. So we were talking about what teams does Varus being back in the meta and being so prominent in the meta favor the most. And something which Lexi said was actually, hey, Utorimayashi's got a lot of stats on this champion. What about him? What about Sengoku? And so far, good laning phase has the champion pretty firmly in this game here. Pyrion.
Oh, he's going to be in trouble. He's going to get stunned up as well. Has got that barrier. Didn't need to use it. And has got no damage because that was well used timing. I think that was the barrier to make sure that he stayed alive there.
I believe he had barrier and an exhaust.
Yeah. But that's just it for now, gang. And Utapon stepping forwards, keeping it away from this ward. And they're going to try and clear out this pink ward.
We saw a couple of roams down from DFM. That's why Sengoku didn't go for that play, I think.
I think
smelled that out.
Yep, I think that's fair. In the bush now is this Morgana alongside what you might expect to be a Java, and that's a decent Chains of Corruption. Gang flashes out and blanks. Flag and drag doesn't hit. Nice flash out. But that spell is now bent.
Okay, so that's one ultimate traded for a flash. So we saw this the other way the last time, as Utorimayashi's flash for the Grand Starfall and also the quickness. This time it's going to be the Chains of Corruption netting that summoner spell gain in terms of net gain for Sengoku there. I don't think they wanted that play to extend. That's why they didn't commit the Cataclysm, because Steel was still on that same side of the map. So Sengoku taking the small win and then kind of rolling with it. We've seen this so much from them in terms of how they play around the game. They don't always go for the explosive fights that we've seen the people like CJ and V3 go for, but they do know how to eke out advantages.
All right, so two big ticket items we need to keep an eye on for DFM. That is the Black Cleaver complete for Ebby, and it's the Warrior enchant complete for Steel. This is the point in the game where Pantheon needs to be getting something done, as there's a call of the Forge gone to Utorominashi, who's got no flash. They're going to try and find their way onto him. Here comes the Grand Starfall. There's a Black Shield, but all it is a bit of a time for the first blood comes over. Steel gets turned around on, but Enti now takes massive damage as Utapon flashes away, and Apament now caught in the middle of no man's land. They're going to keep shoving out, but it's a 1-for-1 trade, but a lot of summoners burned.
Great punish by DFM there. They know that Utorominashi still doesn't have that flash from the earlier play, but then Steel gets caught out under the turret. Aegis not facing the structure, meaning he takes a lot of turret damage.
He's going in! He's got a massive no-roll! Pyrion now stunned in place, takes huge damage, but Ebby is also getting traded back onto. Gang's here to trade around, and actually so is Apman, who's got no dominance this time. That's the end of the shove for now, but I think it's going to give them a little bit of control around this mid lane, but very little else.
Once again, Zoe, with all of her summoner spells available through her W and, of course, the spellbook as well, gets the cleanse there. Means that I don't actually think. I think she cleansed either the W, cleansed one and then didn't have the other. But then cleanse still gives you a bit of tenacity for the next few seconds, which allows Pyrion to get out with the extra move speed, which was still active, and get away from that play. We're going to go right back to the start of this, though. It's a good punish, like I was saying. Call of the Forge God already committed from Saros. He wasn't seen in that brush. And then it's kind of like warnings.
Flash Amenti to get the Black Shield.
It was, yeah. But then it was popped so quickly by the Brittle, it didn't end up absorbing all of the CC, meaning that he couldn't get away, even with the exhaust used from that Varus.
Flash from Jarvan as well to make sure he gets that flag and dragon. That was huge damage to Aegis. Not up because he wasn't expecting that into the bush, and Steel going to be chunked out before this dragon fight is a bit of a worry for DFM. They may want to just hold on. Sengoku Gaming, though, going to feel like they've got an option to get towards this Cloud Drake. They are going to come in and contest this. Steel backs away. Doesn't have his ultimate available either, so won't be able to get here. Do DFM try and contest? I think they might not be able to.
There's no Pantheon ult, and they don't have... he's not in the area. That was a huge skill shot combo.
Land from Pyrion.
There's no smite.
Has Orn got it on a spellbook? Is that a potential? No, they're just going to get it a blank, and the rest of Sengoku Gaming, as Ebby's got his Meganar, just comes forward to see whether he can stop some.
And this is exactly what I was saying as soon as they locked in these compositions, saying, well, what happens if Sengoku land a good skill shot around an objective? We know that Sengoku love to play around those kind of fights around the Heralds, around the Dragons. DFM will try and respond with a Herald. I think Chains of Corruption
lands onto Utapon. He's got no way out. He's taking massive amounts of damage, and he just goes straight down. Great chain.
Who says whatever you're gonna try and do better. They catch out the AD carry with their CC in the mid lane this time, and it's not even a 1-for-1.
Here comes the call of the Forge God, though, and they're not going to be able to get this tower, and that's a decent amount of wave clear as Apament and Pyrion now stuck in the mid lane. Ebby is here, doing a lot of engages.
He's blinding!
Steel is here. He goes down to Utorominashi, and that's a lot of damage out of him. And it's actually turned around another 1-for-0 for the side of Sengoku Gaming, and this tower is now completely indefensible.
It is. DFM try and recover something off that play, but it doesn't work out. This might even end up losing them the Herald now that they've lost Gang, as well as some of their fighting tools as well. Call of the Forge down, God's down again. Aphelios Ultimate's down, as is the quickness. This is such a good advantage for Sengoku, who love to be playing around this kind of fight.
Let's have a look at this replay and see what happens. So it goes just through the minions that were cleared out by Pyrion. That was so nice.
So Chance of Corruption actually goes
through minions. Because I had a moment there thinking that's going to be...
It is still nice. It's range there, so not to discredit Utorominashi. Aphelios had no cleanse, no flash. We saw that burned for the fight, which killed Utorominashi in the mid lane before. Pyrion lands a good Sleepy Trouble Bubble there to stop Saros getting into the back part of this fight, and a binding lands onto Gang to keep him in place, taking down all of that extra damage. So Gang goes down for the second kill of the fight to Sengoku.
Yeah, and suddenly Sengoku Gaming out to about a 3,000 gold lead, though the turret in the bot lane does finally go over to DFM. And it's looking more and more like Sengoku Gaming are going to come into this mid-game with a serious amount of control because they're going for their 5th objective of the game.
Yeah, this is huge, right? And also what is really scary is that 2 of the kills have gone to Zoe. And Zoe, if she gets fed, will just be able to chunk out Pantheon at any point of the game. Pantheon will not reach a point where he can really stand and tank Sleepy Trouble Bubbles and the Paddle Stars as well. And if it lands onto the Aphelios or the Rakan at the same kind of point, you know, they're also going to die. Maybe you can have Saros and Ebby try and tank 1 or 2 of those, but if she gets to an early Void Staff, which it does look that Pyrion is working towards, this could be a very strong Zoe.
Yeah, and I think it's probably time to start calling it out. Steel on this Pantheon hasn't necessarily got the snowball he wanted. Has he necessarily found some decent ganks in terms of blowing some summoners, but he's only found the one kill. And that's a bit of a worry when you're a Pantheon who needs to get stuff done in the early game.
And this is part of the reason why I think that... So I power rank Steel quite low in my junglers. I think that... I'm not going to do a results-based analysis. Say, oh, he's having a bad game, and that means whatever. I think that he has been able to be disrupted in his early level 1s quite consistently now. This is like the 3rd or 4th time in recent memory where his level 1 has been affected, and he hasn't affected the game because of that, due to that kind of start. I agree. I think he hasn't had the start which he wanted to, and now he is being comprehensively outscaled by the other team comp.
Yeah, and of course he still has options with the Grand Starfall. He still has options with the point and click stun, which
he
are
misses the
powerful.
ward.
But that is a big one. They do
yeah,
finally find it, and that's some good news. But this river control is firmly in the favor of Sengoku Gaming, and DFM are around, at least with bodies, and Ebby is going to be shoving in this bot side. Now at an item and a half, definitely has some priority in a side lane, is going to continue to shove up.
The problem I have with Ebby split pushing this game is that Appaman is playing against an overwhelmingly physical damage team. The Aphelios is the only damage she really needs to be aware of, and then obviously Ebby in the side lane on the Gnar is largely physical, does have the hyper procs in his mini Gnar, which is magic. There is some mixed damage there, but it means that he can itemize so effectively.
Bramble Vest's already in.
Bramble Vest, Tabby, extra HP built up as well. Would have gone for the armor runes as well. Means that this Renekton is actually going to be really hard to deal with in side lane. I don't think Ebby's going to be finding the 1v1s particularly easy this game.
No, potentially not. 2 items in for both AD carries. Blade of the Ruin King, Rage Blade for Yutaro Mayashi. It is the Infinity Edge and, of course, the Runan's Hurricane for the Aphelios, so pretty good stuff for him too.
So not the Essence Reaver, going for the straight up burst, trying to just delete the first target.
And remember, this is, of course, the nerfed Ornn, so won't be getting his upgrades even for himself until level 13, so he's waiting for one more level on that, at which point that Ornn is going to be significantly more powerful. One more level, and that's going to be a lot of work for him.
Yeah, so this is patch 10.5, so I believe that it does come in a level later now.
Yeah, it's 13 is, I believe, his level.
Level
Yeah, there he comes in straight away and upgraded.
Yep. He's got his own items done, and then the next level will be the items which gives to his teammate. DFM has managed to accrue a lot of vision around this next Dragon Swarm, which will be a Cloud Soul for Sengoku were they to pick this up.
He's got a good hyper bar. He's thinking about going Mega Knight here. The Rage is there. Got massive chunk onto Enti. He's going to go forward. He's got that. That's a big call of the Forge God 2 flashing out. Here comes the Starfall. He's going deep. He's got an Aegis he's had to use. That's a bit Moonlight Vigil. Steel's had to back away, but does survive. But so do all of Sengoku Gaming. They've summoned a Rift Herald in the mid lane for whatever reason.
I think they were trying to buy some bit of pressure to try and play around this dragon. They don't get any kills though. Enti very close to going down, but all of the carries and damage are still here from Sengoku.
Yeah, Yutaro Mayashi is alive, flashless though, and here comes the teleport right back in. Gnar is here. It's only Steel's flash down as well, so I think that DFM are pretty happy to continue to fight. Try to find a searing charge. He's pretty tanky. He's just going to get away. Uses the Bellows Breath and is just finding Blank actually chunked out pretty heavily at this point, as is Pyrium from some decent hyper blocks.
Yeah, I think that actually for once DFM have managed to find the chunks which Sengoku have managed to miss here. It's actually somewhat of a good engage from DFM. Didn't work out quite the way they wanted to, but it will end up denying this soul at least at this 23-minute mark.
Yeah, and that was what happens. Those 2 items came in for Ornn, and suddenly he was so tanky he could do what the hell he liked.
That's actually pretty huge. That's like an extra 3,000 gold for the Ornn there in terms of defensive stats. Gang might try and go for something here onto you.
Yeah, there is no flash, and he's still got no ultimate, so it was an interesting call.
Yeah, that was very close. We've seen Yutaro actually get caught out the one time already, and this time there were no team members around, so if they did manage to find that, would have been a surefire kill, you have to think. So, after that, we have a 3,000 gold lead for Sengoku still. They still have a 2 dragon advantage, getting those 2 extra flavors of Drakes before the Cloud Rift came in, and we have several kills going the way of the advantage to Sengoku as well.
Yeah. They're still feeling pretty happy. Now, do DFM have options? Yes, they do, of course. Ornn with the upgrades is a massive deal for someone like Aphelios. It's a massive deal for this Gnar if he wants to be split pushing away in a side lane. But that's Pyrium with a Void Staff, and he's not in a bad space. That's Yutaro Mayashi. Yes, he's flashless, but at least has got damage items if he can stay alive, and a stopwatch, and a Thorn Mail now completed for Renekton.
So Appleman is going to be really, really efficient in these fights just in terms of soaking up enough damage. We've seen these fights go relatively long, so the more staying power he has, the better it will be for his team. He's not looking to solo kill everyone, or rather, he's rather looking to buy space for Pirin and Utorimayashi. Blank also building up to a very tanky, looks like a Randuin's Omen coming in after the Cinderhulk's been completed. Against the crit and the early Infinity Edge of Utapon, that will also be very efficient in these early fights.
Yeah, and to take a flash there does Pyrian, but he's got to summon a spellbook and will be just fine.
Yeah, he's got the cleanse right now as
Blank
well, which is
in that bush, doesn't land the binding though, does Enti, he's going to be just fine. Gang's there, spots out the Jarvan, says hello, as Appleman's off to the side, Abby takes a massive chunk, but will go to Meganar and get a certain amount of HP back. Has used the QSS, does Kang, but it is now burnt. Another good chains of corruption from Utorimayashi, who's been hitting some really key ones.
He has, yeah, and that's pretty important coming up to the next couple of minutes. The game's 25 minutes in, and with the Rage Blade, Sengoku have a lot of Baron damage and plenty of people to tank it up with Blank and Appaman as well.
4 sweepers, I apologize.
4 sweepers, absolutely as well. You know what they want to play around. They want to play around Vision.
Vision Denial.
Vision Denial, which does mean that if you are walking into a dark area of the map, you could be walking into a dozen skill shots as well. We saw how that bought one of the early Drakes for Sengoku. We'll see if it ends up buying them anything more in this game.
Yeah, Infernum Severum for Utapon on this Aphelios, which is not bad for those close range healing and area effect attacks. So we'll see how he does with that. With the Baron live, and that's where people are going to be playing.
The Onslaught is just such a massive gout of flame.
It is, it's pretty dumb. Can do a lot of stuff if he wants to go close. Of course, with the cleanse as well and the flash, can actually afford to be a little bit brazen with his positioning just to get as much damage down as he can.
True. And I think that Utapon, if he stays alive in a fight and he does have target access, he will start really ripping through the backline, but he has to get there first. He has to get through the Thornmail, Tabby, Appaman, and he has to get through Blank as well, who has completed the Randuin's Omen now. So the next fight, I have to think the front line is going to be in the favor of Sengoku.
Yeah, it is big stuff. Seros not hit 14 yet, but I'll be curious to see who he upgrades next. As
it'll have
Vision Control now back over for the favor of DFM around this Baron for now.
That's one of the reasons that you can go for the Infinity Edge early on something like Aphelios when you have the Ornn on your team. Does mean you get that most efficient upgrade for your AD carry. And as we've seen in this composition, Aphelios is the major damage here, even though the Brittle is pretty good damage, even after the nerfs for Ornn.
Yeah, and we're going to see double Black Cleaver in for DFM once Steel picks it up, and I think that will be quite important for their full AD team in a lot of ways, as Sengoku Gaming have started up this Baron. DFM don't know. They're going to try and get over it. They might be too late, though. It's going to be pretty fast. It's already down at half HP.
They are going to be able to walk in here. The Call of the Forge God is available, as is the Grand Starfall. It's going down low, though.
It might be too late. I think it's just going to go straight down. It's already there. They've taken it. No, it's just gone. Can they find the fight, though? Gang is there. Uses the QSS. They found a massive Call of the Forge God, though. NT has to go golden. I think he will die. Here comes the Grand Starfall. And that just means that Utapon picks up 1, but it's 4 available out. It's going to be Appaman going down here as well. Takes a lot of it. No! Pyrian just slays Gang, who's gone too deep. It's a 1-for-1, and they get Baron to Sengoku Gaming. That's huge!
There's not even a kill advantage going over to the DFM. It's a support trade. There might be some pressure going down to the mid lane, but I think they'll be able to reset quick enough for Sengoku to end up defending that structure. There's a Cloud Dragon in 30 seconds as well. This could be a Baron into a Cloud Soul, into every bit of win condition that Sengoku wanted in this early into mid-game.
Yeah, it's a big deal. They can't even get the mid-turret Blanks here, looking to try and get onto Ebby, but he has got Hop, has got Flash, will still be able to get away, and will be around with that Narbar stacked as this dragon spawns. Are DFM going to try and contest? They're going to be here, but they were just too slow for that last play.
It was too slow. They did end up sniffing it out, and it was close. They had the tools to get on top of them and really try and set up that shooting gallery of their own. They're going to start fighting over now the Cloud Dragon, which will be the soul.
Here he goes, get in. Mopirian gets it with, of course, the spell. But that's a decent Gnar. Has used that wall up. He's on top of everybody. Everybody's taking a lot of damage. Goes straight down. Enti gets that. That Cataclysm was massive. Usapon's there. He's only at half HP, though. Is getting chunked on. Appaman's on top of him. Has used his flash already. This AD carry is trying to heal and can't stay alive. Appaman dead. Alive, sorry. Uses the Dominus. Gets a double kill. And that's going to be near enough a clean ace for Sengoku Gaming with the Baron on top of them. Cloud Soul on top of them. And you feel a Game 1 victory on the cards for them in this playoff series.
Full team ace will lead to, I believe, the first game going to Sengoku in this best of 5 in round 2. And Utapon, oh Utapon, every rose has its thorns, and this one has a thorn mailed as Appaman just solos out the Aphelios there in the backline. This will be game 1.
Yeah, and Gang here just on the side, can't get a lot done. 0, 3, and 1, hasn't really had all that much luck in the engages. They're going to try and defend, but I think this Nexus is about to fall, and it does. Game 1 goes the way of Sengoku Gaming.
GG game 1. So we're going to bring it back to it. So it's all 3 of us at TriCast, and we're going to go discuss this game in game 1. Lexi, what did you think? I believe you're muted, or rather we can't hear you.
I am muted. That is indeed correct.
I thought it was me again.
It was almost as quiet as Saros that game.
Oh, I mean,
I think Saros was actually that bad. I think my problem with Steel and Gang, who didn't get a lot done at all.
that was a game that, to be honest, Sengoku just looked stronger in every option. Like, throughout that game, there was only one fight where DFM really was showing a lot of praise, but that was because they had priority. Outside of that, they looked pretty underwhelming. Pick and ban phase, in my opinion, also went pretty freaking bad in my eyes. There were just a lot of problems there, and Sengoku capitalized as they have been doing throughout the towards the end of this split against a lot of teams.
3 buff start for Jarvan was a pretty big deal. It was a great late invade onto that red buff start from Steel. Meant that he just didn't get a chance to really play League of Legends. And that was a massive deal, of course, for the fact that we had the Skull Crabs going over as well. The both of them went over. They got early pressure across it. Got to go to double early Drake, double Rift Herald, and then they managed to stack up from there. And I think that was just good stuff from Sengoku Gaming.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Sengoku just, as we've seen so much in the second half of the split, grasped their win condition, made the other team play to them. They didn't have to play to the other team. They just destroyed the level 1, like you were saying, meaning that the Pantheon really didn't have the impact which he wanted to.
Yep.
Having a double AD top and jungle meant that Appaman was not really in threat against the Pantheon. Nah. We also saw that he tried to team up with the Ornn on Superior, who just had an exhaust, and there's just not enough damage there either. The only option was the bot lane, and that was denied by the level 1.
Yeah, and I also want to say that, you know, we saw what DFM wanted to do. We saw a couple of, like, nice ideas of ganks come in from Steel and the teleports from Staros and stuff, but actually largely outplayed by Appaman the first time around. There was some good use of the flash by Yuta Oromiyashi, who also in return threw some gate chains of corruption out. Gang in particular was really struggling, had to go first item QSS and didn't really get a lot done on that Rakan, actually, despite our initial excitement for him on that champion. I think Sengoku played against it very well. And DFM wanted to snowball and just couldn't find it because Sengoku Gaming were very aware and didn't allow it to happen.
It's gonna definitely make this series far more interesting as we do go through the rest of these games. We're guaranteed at least 3 more, gentlemen. That's how this works. So 2 more potentially, but 3 more definitely. It's gonna be exciting.
2 more definitely.
2 more definitely. 3 more hopefully, at least. You want to see at least 3, maybe 4.
Of course.
Keep it exciting. Keep it exciting. But with that all said, we're going to jump over to a very quick break as Sengoku take this first game from DFM.